Woolas joins me now. He's the Labour MP for Oldham East and Saddleworth. He's also Minister of State for Borders and Immigration. Welcome to Channel M today.
Thanks, Andy.
Aside from your policy disagreements, do you welcome the Tories to the north of England?
Absolutely. It's fantastic. They bring a lot of money, about £15 million. They see that the north of England is a fantastic place. It makes me laugh, some of the comments, that they're surprised. And there's a big row with us. My counterpart, Chris Grayling, said that it was like Baltimore. I was giving out free copies of The Wire outside Harvey Nicks the other day.
Well,
but there's a serious
He's been challenged by Tony Lloyd to go down to Moss Side and have a look for himself. I don't know whether he's taken up that challenge.
No, he's turned it down. He's turned it down.
OK, well, let's talk about policies that have been announced. We haven't got to your department yet in terms of your shadow, but... The Chancellor has unveiled what he describes the policies to get Britain working, tackling Britain's debts, this public sector pay freeze. These are bold moves and they're brave. Honestly, the best policy. I mean, your leader was barely able to admit the C word when he was making his speeches, wasn't he?
There's a balance, isn't there? You've got to know what your income is going to be before you can say what your expenditure is going to be. That's just a basic rule of life. So politicians who tell you that they know what the expenditure is going to be in 5 years' time, I tell you, as a minister for 8 years, they're talking nonsense. The problem is, how do we ensure that we come out of recession, spend public money, your taxes, to make sure that we keep the economy going, in order that we can then spend that money? And that's a question of balance. Opposition parties, and I'm making a partisan point, you've invited me on the programme, so I might as well. But opposition parties, and we were in opposition a few years ago, you can say anything, but I'm telling you, as a minister, you've got to balance income against expenditure.
But he's taking a gamble, isn't he? Because, you know, when John Smith was in opposition, he made some very honest budgetary statements in 1992, which New Labour say cost them the election. But, so, you know, they are taking a gamble. They're saying, this is honest. Vote for the Tories and you'll get a public sector pay freeze and, you know, the child trusts will be cut and so on and so forth.
I was at John Smith's alternative budget in 1992. I was there and listened. What John Smith was talking about was honesty in public finances. He wasn't basing it on an extrapolation of what the money was going to be available in a few years. I think this is like 1931. Listeners and viewers of political history will know that we'd had an economic crisis and politicians were able to say anything. People of Manchester have got to judge, do they trust a party that wants a laissez-faire, cut public expenditure, they believe in small government, or do, look around you, want a party that invests private and public money in a partnership? That's the big legacy of John Smith.
Elsewhere, from your immigration role, you are the Minister for the North West. What would you like the policies for our region to be? What would you like to hear from the Tory Party conference, whether you will or not? I wonder.
What I really would like to hear from them is support for our border controls. We now check people in and out. When you go through Manchester Airport or Liverpool or wherever, we count you out and we count you in so that we can see who is overstaying their visa, and that is a big change in immigration policy. I'd like the Tory party to support that policy.
OK. They're committed to abolishing the ID cards, though, aren't they? And saving
a lot of nonsense.
Saving me, a taxpayer.
A lot of nonsense. I'm the minister responsible for the ID cards. This idea that it's costing $5 billion is a complete fabrication.
How much is it going to cost, then?
It's already cost you $17 million. It'll cost you $35 million, and after that, it pays for itself. It's part of the passport. When you buy your passport for 70-odd quid, you're paying for the service to get it. The ID card, which is voluntary, will be the same. So it's not a great saving to get rid of it. It's one of those things that journalists frankly talk about in bars in London, and it's not true, I'm afraid.
We need to make savings, though. He's promised to crack down on Whitehall salaries, restore the link between pensions and earnings, and increase the pensionable age, which has to be done, painful though it may be for some, because there are people who are living longer and younger people aren't there to make the contributions to fund those pensions, are they?
Your older viewers will know that the link between pensions and earnings and inflation, whichever was the higher, was Barbara Castle, a Labour minister's commitment. Listen, pensions are based on national insurance. How much money I have as a minister to give back to you, it's your money. Depends how much you put in. I can't wave a magic wand and come up with it.
But national insurance that's paid in now pays current pensions, and if there are a few
national insurance now pays future pensions. This is the trick that these Conservative politicians are trying to pull on you.
So my national insurance contributions are stashed away safely so that when I become 65 or 66 or 70,
policy.
It will be there for me.
It's an insurance policy.
It's not being spent now.
Unless a politician in Whitehall interferes. And that's what you're absolutely right to be asking.
OK, well, we shall ask that politician from Whitehall when and if they present themselves. Mr Woolas, thank you very much indeed.